So Shirley Caesar is one of the most innovative and fascinating artists of any genre. And she reflects all of the beauty and complexity of humanity and also Black life. A native of Durham, North Carolina, the daughter of tobacco workers, a genius, um, one of the greatest performers of any genre, but someone who never lost a sense of her North Carolina Black Durham roots. She is a product of what it means to, I think, be anointed, but she is also a product of a community that nurtured her. She is a product of Black Durham. She's a product of North Carolina Central. She's a product of Shaw University. She's a product of the baddest gospel group ever, the Caravans. She's a product of that community. And Shirley Caesar's longevity is amazing. I think she is arguably the greatest artist and in some ways the most underrated. I think we have not fully, even myself included. She's the one person that I kept saying this could be this could be a biography. And she has her own autobiography, and it's wonderful because she's also about self-preservation and self-presentation. Born in 1938, brilliant, known as Baby Shirley. Moves to the Caravans, joins the Caravans in 1958, leaves the Caravans in 1966, gets all that training, then strikes out on her own, heavily recruited. She goes to HLB Records, makes these amazing records, and records that I should note that's rare sometimes in gospel in this period. They're amazing from beginning to end. This book is also, I think, about artists, but great records. And she just but she's always about the business. She's always about trying to put herself in the best situation. And it's about protecting the art form, but she's also about what's happening in the Black community. So in her records in the 1960s, you hear references to poverty. You hear records to the civil rights movement. You hear references to Vietnam. She's also attentive to class conflict that's beginning to happen in this moment. So, the song, Don't Throw Your Mama Away, a classic sermonette, is very much about, okay, there's this middle class member of the family, there's this, quote, no good son who actually comes to the rescue at the end of the song. But she's also raising this question, what is going to be our relationship to each other as African Americans? As this civil rights movement begins to show manifestations, material manifestations, what's our relationship to the Black folk, the working class folk who get left behind, who are hit hard by deindustrialization and the loss of jobs? Shirley Caesar is also responding to those realities out of the Christian tradition of, we have to respond to the community. We have to be attentive to the least of these. So in some ways, to me, she's the musical variant of also liberation theology. And she just continues this in the 70s. All the while she's innovating. So Shirley Caesar can do traditional gospel. She can sign with Roadshow and do some of the funkiest stuff you've ever heard. And then she's like, okay, no charge. Okay, yeah, Melville Montgomery, that was cool. But I'm about to give me this country stuff too, because I am from North Carolina. So she's underrated to me in that sense. I think to label her just traditional, it misses the point. So she can do an album with funk elements in the late 1970s, signed with Word Records. And of course, she was one of the first African-American artists kind of signed with Word. Hook up with a North Carolinian, Tony Brown, who's known for country music, and then say like, yeah, Bob Dylan, I'm going to sing your song. You got to serve somebody, and I'm going to kill it. And then you fast forward 1987, you get Shoutin' John. John joined a dead church. They didn't believe in dancing. They didn't believe in speaking in tongues. That same year she runs, around that same time, she runs for city council, because she's also saying it's not enough for me to talk about this in my songs. It's not enough for me to just do benefits and charity. I got to shape public policy. So I think the challenge for us as we think about this moment and we deal with, racism in the body of Christ and economic exploitation. And I think sometimes we have a tendency to think, well, if we all just come together and kumbaya, and if we're just all in a place of worship, no, our commitment to God is also evident by what we're thinking about in terms of public policy. So she's like, yeah, I'm running. So she ran for a seat on the city council and served in that position for 4 years. She's singular in so many ways. And she deserves our love and respect.